Oh, did you hear that just
Ah,
now?
I did.
All right,
I did.
cool. All right, so Wes, you and I are going to talk about wild stuff, interesting stuff that might be only interesting to us ever. We're
That's all
recording
right.
this because we're delusional enough to think somebody else might want to listen to us talk, maybe in the
I
future.
love the mug.
Thank
I
you.
love the mug.
I stole it. Actually got this as a Christmas present for someone else, but now I use it.
I love that.
Thank you. I watched through that. My son watched the whole series of Dragon Ball Z, and I never saw one episode, never not one, as he was growing up. And then once he became an adult in his like 20s, I think it was during COVID, we we watched the whole thing, and I
Oh
loved
yeah,
it. I loved
that's
it.
awesome.
Yeah,
They have a new one coming out called Digma, Dragon
really.
Ball Digma. Yeah, it's out in Japan right now. They're dubbing it for America right now.
Oh, so it's already made, completed, and can make it here.
I don't know if it's completed, but it is ongoing
It's
in
available.
Japan.
Okay. What's this? Do you know the storyline for it or where it falls?
It it takes place after the Majin Buu saga and before Dragon Ball Super happens.
Okay. All right. I have no idea what that means, but
So
but that's why we're here.
Majin Buu was towards the end of Dragon Ball Z, the pink
Okay.
fluffy guy that
Oh
talked
yeah.
funny. Yeah,
Yep.
it's right after all of that, and then before the latest series, which was Dragon Ball Super. It takes
Okay.
place in between those two series.
Okay. Hmm. What do you think what makes Dragon Ball so great?
I think for me, it's seeing the level of perseverance that I think we all would love to be able to achieve. Just be able to have that persistent drive to just achieve and be better time in and time out, no matter what the stakes are, no matter what's stacked against us. Just having that ability to be the best you can be every single time. That's what I always found attractive to it.
That actually feels like it could have been. Were those lines straight from a Dragon Ball Z episode?
Absolutely not. It has been so long since I've watched Dragon Ball at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. That I think that was what attracted me to it once I started watching. I was like, "Oh, this guy never gives up. This guy never gives up." That's the whole kind of
Yeah,
the theme or the thread that runs through the whole show is like who's got the most grit
yeah,
and who's willing to suffer the most for something outside of themselves, you know.
yeah,
Maybe that's a theme that runs through most of the great stories we know. I don't know.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
There's
right,
also a
so
fantastic
go ahead.
dubbed series. There's a fantastic mock series called Dragon Ball Z Abridged, where a bunch of fans redid the show and made it a comedy. And it is one of the greatest things that's ever been done in fan fiction.
Really?
Yeah, they took
What
the whole series of Dragon Ball Z from Frieza to Cell, condensed it down to like 2 hours, cut a lot of the fluff out, and it's a comedy series basically throughout the entire thing, and it is
what's it called?
fantastic. Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Abridged, ABRID. I'm spelling it for anybody who like me is
It's done
abridged.
by Team Four Star.
Team. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
hysterical.
Let's see if I'm looking at the right thing. I think I am. Is this it?
Oh yeah, yep, that's it. All right.
Gotta be right. How many Dragon Ball
It
Z abridged can there be?
a lot, but that's the only one that matters.
Is it all? Is it right? Is it all on YouTube?
Yep, all on YouTube for free.
Oh, nice. Okay, fun. Totally free.
Oh yeah,
Look at this. Oh, the animation. They did all the animation or they clipped it,
they
like
clipped
edited
it.
it. Okay.
They clipped it and edited the animation.
That's fun. All right. That's that might be a binge worthy
Oh,
six.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely is.
I bet, especially if you know the original series, it's probably even that much more funny, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that on the watch list. I don't know where the watch list thing is here, but
I think it's down on the
here.
three dots. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to report it. I got it. Bookmarked it.
Yeah.
Bookmarked
Yeah.
it. We got it. All right. Great. See there, good content already. See this whole call is worth it just for that
Yeah.
moment.
100%.
All right. So we are well I think if anybody does watch this they'll probably wonder who the heck are these two bearded jokers having a conversation about Dragon Ball Z. So I'm Jeremiah and I know nothing, almost nothing about all the things that Wes knows everything about.
And I'm Wes, and I know a little bit about a lot of everything.
And we were talking about having a conversation just interesting enough over breakfast and thought I'd be cool to record this and see um, if anybody else is interested in the things that we're curious about. So here we are, and we'll see where it takes us. Wes, as I was asking you about what interests you lately or what your favorite game is, I think was the question. Um,
So lately, I've been playing Sly Cooper from the original PlayStation era via the PlayStation streaming network that they have. Those games came out in the early 2000s for the PlayStation 2. But the topic that I had came across today was Death Stranding because recently, for people who are involved with the video game community, know that the Game Awards just happened last week, and to everybody's surprise, Hideo Kojima, the creator of Death Stranding, did not have a presentation for Death Stranding 2. He typically always has something to show at the Game Awards every year, and this was the first year that he didn't. So I thought that was kind of a bit of a shock, and that's been on my brain ever since is Death Stranding.
mm,
One of my personal favorite games of all time. I'd put it in top five, maybe even top three as one of my all-time favorite games.
okay, so before you texted me earlier this week about this game, I had never heard of it. I have no idea what this game is about. I know that there's a weird baby looking thing inside a translucent cocoon on your desk. It's kind of weird.
Lou,
Yeah.
B
Yeah.
BB-28 or Lou,
Right.
as
So
it's referred to in the game.
to the average outsider from the video game world, I'm looking at that going, what in the world is that thing? So can we just start there? Tell me, why is there a little child or a little thing inside a clear egg?
So BB is an acronym for Bridge Baby. Bridge babies are used in this game to connect the living person to be able to see the BTs, beached things. Um,
Okay.
so essentially, you're able to see the dead. That's in easiest way to lay it out is you can see the dead that are stuck on Earth, kind of like purgatory almost. They're stuck in
Oh,
purgatory,
okay, okay.
and they are kind of the enemy types in one of the enemy types in Death Stranding. But the bridge babies are used as a tool to help the living see and navigate through the terrains of Death Stranding's world and not run into them or run into them and go for battle if you want.
Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this. The bridge babies, these little babies inside the egg, they can see dead people or
Yep.
things. And if you're carrying one of them around with you, they tell you where the dead things are?
So there is an attachment on the back of your character called an Odra deck. The Odra deck kind of sits right here on the character and it does this. The
Okay.
faster that it moves, the closer you are to the beached things. The slower it moves, the further away you are. And when it
Okay.
goes away completely, you're in a safe spot. You're okay to walk around freely and not have to sneak about.
We're never going to get away from the old games of hot, cold, hide and go seek. It's really all it is. It's
Yeah, yeah, it is.
the next level. All right. So I also, this is the first, I'm totally outside the video game world. I dabbled a little bit in Halo and Call of Duty in my younger years. Super Mario Brothers back in the early years, a lot of
Yeah.
that, and Mega Man. Um, on the original Nintendo system where you had to blow the cartridge out, and like I wasn't ever good at that. We always had it to my older brother to get the game working.
Mega
But
Man 10 always will be hold a special place in my heart. That game is phenomenal.
it was so good. Like Mega Man, for some reason, I feel like it was way ahead of its time, and
Yeah.
not that I have any, you know, validation for that, but it just felt like such a good game that you could play, and at the time wasn't too addicted to it. Although, played it probably way too much than mom wouldn't have wanted. But all right, so take me to the why is it significant that this guy didn't present new information
New information is into what?
at
Oh,
the
at the Game
award?
Awards. At the Game
Yeah.
Awards. Because today the guy who runs the Game Awards, his name is Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley created the Game Awards, runs it every single year, and it's become basically the Oscars per se of video gaming. But because the video game industry over the past 5 to 10 years has seen a downslope in big conventions, the Game Awards has kind of become an Oscars presentation mixed in with an announcement presentation. There used to be a big convention called the Electronics Expo, E3. E3 was around from the late 80s all the way up until about 2015, 2017, and it died out.
Hmm.
They didn't have the money to do it more, closed it down. So there in the E3 every single year was a week long convention where all the biggest names in video games would get together and they would bring everybody from around the world to show off what projects they're working on, what games they're announcing, what new software or technology consoles that they're going to release
Hmm.
out to the public. And it was something that, okay, leading up to E3, rumors and speculations. Sony's going to talk about this. Microsoft's going to talk about this. Nintendo's going to talk about that. Ubisoft might talk about this, or NetherRealm might come bring a new Mortal Kombat. All that kind of stuff. But E3 is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. We
Hmm.
still have other big conventions throughout the year, like PAX out over in Germany, but they're not nearly to the scale that E3 was. And now a lot of these major companies have taken a step back and said, okay, well, we can do month to month updates on YouTube, kind of like
Hmm.
Sony does the state of play every month, where they have a 20, 30-minute video. Here's what's coming. Here's what we're working on. Here's a couple of updates for this. Yay, 30-minute video. That's our presentation. And they do it every month. No need for E3. But still, a lot of the lower or indie developers, a lot of the lesser known developers or lesser known studios or independent studios will go to the Game Awards to have their announcements made there because Jeff Keighley has the platform to do it. Because this year, I think there was 100 million people watching the Game Awards, the
Hmm.
largest viewing of it ever, and it was all on YouTube. So that's huge. So a game studio of, say, a good example would be like Hello Studios, who did No Man's Sky. They were a small development team from Sweden. Nobody knew who they were. They didn't do it at the Game Awards, but the example being they can go to the Game Awards and say, hey, here's our game. Check it out. This is what we're working on. And it's just a good place for everybody who doesn't have the name yet to get something out there.
Hmm. So it's like this independent, like we would see in film, like a cans or like something that's obscure. Well, the obscure creators who don't have a massive following leverage that platform for the sake of a bigger audience.
Yep,
Yeah, that makes
absolutely. And
sense.
yeah, and even some of the bigger studios will do it as well. To today, like Sony and Microsoft, Nintendo, all the big guys, they still will use that platform to announce some stuff. It's
Mhm.
not as much as they normally would at E3, but they still do it from time to time. They will
Okay.
use that platform to announce games. Like at the Game Awards this year, Naughty Dog, the creators of Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Dexter,
Mm.
Uncharted, The Last of Us, some of the heaviest of the heaviest titles out there, announced their new game, Intergalactic: A Heretic Prophecy. They didn't show any gameplay or anything like that. It was just a quick cinematic trailer, but it was the first time that we had heard about this game at all.
It was totally
Officially
under
heard about it.
wraps. Oh,
It
okay.
was there
Just
was
rumors,
rumors and
maybe.
speculations that Naughty Dog was working on it, but it was the first official announcement from Naughty Dog themselves saying, "Here it is," basically squashing all the rumors and here's
Okay.
what we're doing.
Okay. So now, good. Now I've got a good grasp of what this setting is, why the platform is important. So so I'm still thinking like, why is it significant that a game developer would not put a video up? Is that because, and I mean, like, for the, what's the name of this game that with
Oh,
the
for Death
baby and
Stranding?
Death
Uh,
Stranding? Like,
be,
why is it because that means they're not going to release a game? They're not working on one? Is that the fear?
no, Hideo Kojima and Jeff Keighley are very good friends in real life, very close knit with each other. And Hideo has used the Game Awards platform almost every year to announce something or show off more of what he's working on. And
Okay.
it's kind of like expected almost that, okay, the Game Awards are happening. Hideo Kojima is going to be there. What is he going to talk about? What is he going to show us? Like last year, he did two different game announcements in the Game Awards. One that he was collaborating with Jordan Peele, the director, to work on a horror game. And then he announced another psychological horror game that he's working on with Microsoft exclusively.
Hmm.
And it's been out there and well known. There's trailers and everything for Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
Oh,
And a lot of people kind of expected him to show off new gameplay, maybe set a release date for the game, maybe show off more story elements or minor character development. Because with Hideo Kojima, I don't know what the movie is called, but the line is "This is your brain," and then "This is your brain on drugs." Like that's Hideo
oh,
Kojima.
I remember that. That was a commercial back in the 90s, I think.
Oh yeah, it was a
Like a Just
commercial.
Say No
Yeah.
to Drugs commercial with the egg. And they
Yes.
crack the egg into the frying pan.
Right. Well, Hideo Kojima is the brain on drugs all the time, just sober. The things that he comes up with are just it makes my brain hurt in a good way.
Okay.
Like the first time I saw the bridge baby in the trailer for Death Stranding 1, immediately I had the same reaction that everybody does of why is there a baby in the tube? What is that?
What's
What did
going
I
on
just
here?
watch? What
Yeah.
did I just see? And the same thing is being said for Death Stranding 2, only to like the ninth power. Because now
Okay.
we have all the weirdness from the first game, but the first thing that they show in the second game is the main character, Sam, running around with BB on his chest with a talking puppet on his waist. No idea what that means. There's a talking puppet now, and we have no idea what it means, what it's about. It's there.
That's
But somehow
wacky.
Kojima will. It is. It is a complete brain trip to watch the trailers for these games.
I like how I like how you made sure to say he's like he's like the brain on drugs but sober.
Yes, yes,
To the extent that we know, right? But
yeah,
who knows where those kind of ideas come from, right?
yeah,
I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can get crazy ideas for
yeah.
puppets on hips and BBs on chests.
Well, Hideo Kojima is famously known for being a cinematography nut. He is
Oh,
infatuated with cinema. He's always talked about how growing up his family would watch movies almost every single day, and growing up he'd watch movies all the time, from indie filmmakers all the way up to the big screen guys, and
mm,
just studying, learning, and appreciating every element of movies. And he kind of translates that stuff into his games.
mm. So he's in and of himself. He's got a first of all a pretty serious following, but a broad knowledge of different scopes of cinema that he's pulling into the games. I wonder if I've never played this game, but I wonder if you can even see the connections to stuff that he appreciates, like movies, throwbacks to
Yes.
movies and different things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you definitely can. When he was making Death Stranding, he said that this game was for him. It was his love letter. It's the game he's always wanted to make. There's a long history of Kojima. This is Kojima's first game. on his own. He opened up Kojima Studios and developed and made Death Stranding all on his own.
Mm.
Before that, he was with a company called Konami. And with Konami, there was a very bad breakup. So when he left Konami, he was pretty much forced out of Konami. And a lot of people were worried that Kojima was never going to be in the industry again because Konami pretty much tried to like push him out, shun him, make him look like a bad guy. And then he came back with Death Stranding. And the entire process for that, he said, "This is the game I've wanted to make. It's a love letter for me. It's a love letter that of everything I've ever wanted to do it in a game or in a movie. This is it."
Yeah. Did he call it that? Was that like his language, a love letter for like the game?
I don't want to quote that, but it was close to something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It it's wild to me, and I know this might not sit well with folks, but like the world of video games is so layered with stories, with relationships. There's rumors of games. There's rumors of people. It's like a whole country in and of itself. And
Yeah,
speaking of like the community of people that are engaged in video games, like worldwide, first of all, but then also there's a shared language, there's a culture, there's access points, there's pseudo immigration to that nation of like
yeah,
lobby plays and like how what game. So it's just such a mag. It's a. It, I think of it as a huge impact on modern culture that I I wonder how much time is spent by governments thinking about how does video game world, whatever that means, impact our day in and day out, our lobbying, our all the stuff that goes into running a government. Because
yeah.
you could literally, when you think about it, all the people that are engaged day in and day out in whatever part of the world that they are, you could have a massive effect if you could move those people to action on something through a game. Through a game.
And it's happened.
Oh, it has?
And not on like a government level, but I mean, so Carrie Fisher, legendary for being Princess Leia, right?
Yeah.
There is a Star Wars game out. It's a massive multiplayer online game, MMO, called Star Wars: The Old Republic. When Carrie Fisher died, there is a temple inside of that game, the Jedi Temple there, where millions of players from all over the world went to the temple on the day of her memorial, ignited their lightsabers in the game, and just stood there in honor of Carrie Fisher. Millions of people are just coming together from all different walks of life, different problems and setbacks, different decks of cards, and they all came together to honor Carrie Fisher's memory in this game. I
Yeah.
personally have my own kind of connections with Destiny. That was an MMO game that is still going today. I don't play it anymore, but I made friends through Destiny 1 from Texas, from Australia,
Right.
Sweden, Norway, Europe, Canada, and like people that you would never ever cross paths with probably in real life. But because of this game that we all collectively enjoyed, I look for this was when I was still a single guy, a bachelor, and it would be, or the routine would be, I would get out of work, I would go get dinner, I would come home, I would eat it real quick, and then I would spend the next 4 or 5, sometimes 8 hours, even on a work night, playing Destiny with these people because they would call me like, "Wes, we're gonna go raid. You want to go raid? Yeah, let's go. I'm there."
Right.
Or Wes, you want to? Even if it was just Wes, what are you doing? Nothing. I'm just hanging out. Hey, you want to go run some quests and just hang out? Yeah, absolutely. And just sit there and
Yeah.
talk like it video games as a platform is kind of like what the concerts and the festivals were of the 70s. It's that now for people of this age in this era.
Hmm.
People are coming together that you would never be able to get together otherwise for a common thing. And unites people a lot more than what it's given praise for.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
Hmm.
agree with you. There's been a lot of effort to blame video games for problems in youth.
Right.
Like when Mortal Kombat came out in the late 90s and government was saying, "Oh, that's too much blood. That's going to ruin the kids. It's too violent. It's too violent." Well, they're still making those games and they are 50 times the amount of blood and gore in those games now than there was back in the 90s. But
Hmm.
they don't say anything about it now.
Right. And I
Grand Theft.
wonder if there was an effect, if there was any kind of legitimately studied effect on the level of violence among youth who played versus who didn't. I'm sure we could dig into that and find it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But whether there is or isn't, the gore has definitely escalated to a level that is, I think, exponentially higher than it was
Oh yeah.
20, 30 years ago. But
Even
now,
5, 10 years ago. Yeah.
I don't think you could say, just allegorically looking across the scope of the community, I don't think that the violence of the average video game player, or like, if it scaled, if the violence of the humans who played video games scaled to the level that the gore has scaled, then
We'd be in trouble.
we'd all be dead.
We'd be in trouble. Yeah.
Right. Right. People would be
It'd be
running
like
around in the streets with shotguns and swords.
it'd be the Purge, the movie, only in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely part of our culture, and it's got traction to it. And I'm curious just how much, as we're talking about it, even more so, curious how much time, energy, effort, resources is being put officially into the use of that space for um, like broad sweeping connection among nations, but it's happening either way. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I didn't think about, I saw um, something online the other day. It was on one of the socials. I only have two. I think this was on Instagram, and it showed like um time. It was a time spent graph, and it was like all the time spent with at work, with friends, with family, at church, it's like all these different things that people spend time with. And it was like the major time expenditure for most Americans was like time with friends for decades. And then once the internet was created, that it took over. But the way the graph showed it was, it far exceeded all the times with every like component of a person's life. And all the other ones shrunk, but the online time extended and grew. Now,
Yeah.
as you're describing that time with friends online in a game, I'm thinking it's not quite a fair graph to say
No.
that like time online equals less time with friends, with family, because
Right.
maybe it's less time in breathing the same air, but now you've got people across the world hanging out, spending time together online that wouldn't have otherwise done it. So
Yeah.
there's got to be a little bit more of a nuanced understanding of what it means to be playing games, I think, than what we first wanted to say about them ignorantly 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, going back to that Destiny thing, I was in a clan called Downright Dirty. That was the name of the clan of all these people that we would hang out together. The leader of that clan, her name was Ginger, and rest her soul. I hope she's resting in peace and in heaven because she unfortunately passed a few years ago.
Mm.
And she was kind of like the mother of this group. Like everybody loved Ginger unanimously. Whenever we were playing Destiny, we were playing with Ginger, and Ginger was a kind-hearted, warm-spirited person and just cared about us despite the fact that she's never seen us in person.
Mm-hmm.
And when she unfortunately passed away, the clan decided to get a card, a big card. It was like the size of like huge card, and we mailed it across the world. We mailed it to every individual clan member
Oh, wow.
and signed it personally. And by the time that there was someone in, she lived in Texas, and there was someone in the clan that lived close by in Texas that knew her personally and her family. It got to him last, and he personally delivered it to their house. So, I mean,
That's cool.
that wouldn't have happened 30 years ago without the internet, without uh, video games being to the extent that they are now. I mean, I'm always been a fan of family is much more than blood. And, talking, you and I have talked about that in the past about my family dynamics. Like, video games have the power, the internet just in general has that power to unite people, to make people family, to make people understand and care and sympathize and do life together on a whole nother level that was never been able to do before. And
Mhm.
especially for people who are introverted, that's a wonderful tool. I don't have to leave the house and I can still have all these friends and connections. That's amazing. That's a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, yes, but I can even hear, as you're saying that, I can hear the objectors saying like, but are you really connecting with those people?
Right.
Is there something different about being in person with, and so I gotta say there's definitely something about being with in the same physical space with other people, even just physiologically it feels different. Um,
Yeah.
but I agree, and I think we don't take advantage enough of the opportunities we have now to connect with people that we would never otherwise connect with. At least me as a Gen Xer, I'm kind of stuck in this place of like, wait, what is this internet thing? Thankful for it, but not. I didn't grow up with it, so.
Right.
Um, but yeah, there's a beautiful scaffolding that can happen by way of these tools. All right, so take us back to the game itself. I want to hear more about this game, why you love it. I know you talked about kind of the intrigue of it, and where you think like if I've never played it before, where would I start? Like, is this why would I want to play it?
I think if you have never played Death Stranding and you're kind of on the fence about it, I would say two things to that person. One, you've got to make it to uh level 4 before you give up on the game. It takes a long time to get going, to actually get to the parts that make it really fun and interesting. But once it gets there, it is worth every minute of the long introduction. The introduction of the game is like 10 hours long. It's a long introduction.
Wow, that's
Most
commitment.
games are like,
You got to be committed.
yes, right.
Okay.
Most games it's like 45 minutes and then, okay, you're off and running. But Death Stranding, it's like 10 hours to get there. But once you get there, it is absolutely rewarding and worth it to me.
So is
And the
that
other,
level 4 then? After the introduction, are you at level 4? Do you have to keep
yeah,
going beyond that? Okay. Okay.
yep, you'll be at level 4 at that point. Yep, you get to a point and you have to cross a body of water. And once you get across that body of water, that's where the game opens up and really shows itself to the player of what you are about to experience.
Okay.
And the other thing that I love about the game is its interconnected, deep, complex story about human connection. Because the whole premise of the story, in an easy nutshell, is connecting, like we were talking about. How deep is that connection when you can't see that person? How
Mm.
good is that connection when you can't touch that person? And how important it is for us to stay connected even in the darkest of times, in the most grim of times, and especially in the best of times, being connected together and staying united.
Hmm.
Its story is complex, confusing, goes in 19 different directions at all times. There is not a right turn, it is all left turns, but it gets there. And
Mm-hmm.
if you take the time to pay attention to its deep nuances and stuff like that, it picks up. And once it clicks, it really just it
Hmm.
clicks.
Okay. All right. How do I play this? What
So
systems?
it's just on PlayStation. It's only
Okay.
on PlayStation, but it's on the
Okay.
PlayStation 4. There's a director's cut for the PS5. I think they did bring it over to PC. Sony's been on a kick of bringing all of their games to PC, so you might be able to play it on PC. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm. Okay. So I don't have a PlayStation. Now I got to go buy a PlayStation to try this game out.
I've got one. Don't worry, you can
Okay. You
borrow
got
it.
an extra I can borrow?
I do actually,
All right.
but now
Deal.
I'm
Next time we see
curious.
each other, you gotta bring me Tara. Tara's gonna be like, "What are you doing down there?" I'm like, just working through the introduction.
Okay, so I lied. I just looked it up. It's on iOS and Amazon Luna and Xbox.
Amazon Luna.
Yeah,
What is
that's a streaming game platform.
really by
Yeah, yeah,
Amazon?
yeah, it's terrible.
I've never even heard of it.
You buy
Amazon
like
Luna.
you buy like a controller and a Fire Stick dongle, and it connects that way.
Oh, you know what I did? I just saw this a commercial for that.
Hmm.
I didn't know it was called
Yeah.
Amazon Luna.
Yep.
That sounds like uh, a much too long dog name.
Yeah.
Like, somebody at Amazon has a dog named Luna,
It's
and they were
probably
like,
Bezos.
you know what? We're just gonna call this thing. We're gonna name this thing after my mutt. And no, it's probably a labradoodle or something
Ah,
like
gosh.
a golden doodle or something. It's it. Okay, so it's Xbox. We got an Xbox,
There you go. It
and
might
most
be
of these
on.
games are downloadable now, right? Like you just
Oh yeah,
I don't need to go to the game store and pick up a disc and put it in there and download it off the disc anymore.
that's
What's up
my.
with
I
that?
personally prefer that.
Yeah, I mean that again, this might be our age showing, but that feels like you're actually buying something.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yes.
feel like a download can be taken from me at any time. Like access can be ungranted.
Yeah.
So I might have just paid 60, $80 for something that you still have control over whether or not I have access to it.
Yep.
But if
Yep.
I have a disc, at least I can play that version of the game forever as long
That
as the
was a
system works.
that was a long conversation that I heard on a podcast I was listening yesterday called Distractable, and they were talking about that how it's if you only buy games digitally, if that company decides to yank it off their store, that's it. That's it. Oh
Right.
well, you lost that money. It's gone.
And the game's
And
gone, right?
yeah, some games, yes, there are others, no. It depends on what kind of game it is, but for the most part, yeah, once they pull it off the store, you can't play it no more. Even if you already bought it and had it downloaded to your system, in some cases, you're kind of SOL.
Right. Maybe you can play it locally, but there's no server for it anymore. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that obviously people smarter than us have gone back and forth, obviously on different podcasts, but there's a curious thing in my mind around the pros and cons of the downloadable world we're in versus even my daughter has a car now and she's got a CD player in the car. So she went out to the records or the local music store and bought a bunch of CDs. She went to a thrift store, bought a bunch of CDs, and I had this thought, and I had a bunch of those CDs. And here's the kicker: I don't have the CDs anymore, but I'm paying for a music service to
Yep.
subscribe so I can listen to the music that I bought in the 90s.
Yep.
So I bought, Dave Matthews, Beatles, all these, Jim Croce. I bought them all. Had a big, fat, thick binder full of CDs. No idea where the CDs are. But now I'm paying what, 30, $25 a month to be able to listen to all the music I bought already.
Yeah.
So there's
They
definitely
got you.
yeah, they got
Gotcha.
me. They
They
got
got
me.
you. That's what it is. It's got you. Got your
It's
market.
same thing with video games, right? Like now I could see in the future somebody going, oh, I had this Halo disc that I could play anytime I want, but now I can't play it unless I pay the subscription fee for the game. We're just headed
Right.
to a new version of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
we're
mean, we're
already
kind of
there.
already there. We're kind of
Yeah.
already there. Yeah. Yeah. But
Mm,
that's a whole other topic that I could
yeah.
spend tons of time talking about.
Maybe that's our topic for next time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see. All right. So as we wrap up, what's your big takeaway from our conversation today? What are we thinking?
That video games are a much more deserving platform than what they currently get from the other industries out there. I
Mm,
think video games is a very legitimate art form and it's not taken as seriously as it should be. And video games are the place where if you want deep, complex, fun, entertaining, and thing and games that just things that just get your attention and grasp onto your emotions, video games are where it's at. I think
mm,
video games have come up with more original content in the past 30 years than any other form of media out there.
mm.
Comics, movies, TV shows. I mean, look at the movies that are coming out. We just had the
Based
Borderlands
on
movie
video
this year.
games.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
Borderlands. We had an Assassin's Creed movie a couple of years ago. We've got the Minecraft movie coming out in a year or so. And then there was the Super Mario movie not that long ago. A lot of these, there was Uncharted, the movie Uncharted, with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. That was based off a video game.
Oh, right,
That
right.
was
I
based
remember the
off of
talk
Naughty
about
Dog's.
that.
Yeah, that was based off of Naughty Dog's Uncharted series. So, I mean,
That's
people
where
are
the
running out of
creatives are.
ideas, and the
Yeah.
creative people are going to the video game industry because you can flesh out your story as much as you want. You can get in depth as much as you want. And there isn't a single genre that can't be touched in video games. If you're into fantasy, there's fantasies galore. If you're into space, there's space galore. If you're into wacky, whimsical, there's that. You know, video games have a little bit of everything for everybody out there.
But do they have? But do they have?
They have Madden.
They have Madden.
They have Madden.
Madden is a game that has. I want to see a fantasy game based on the NFL.
NFL
Dragons,
Blitz.
Wizard. Is that a thing?
There was it's not that kind of fantasy, but there was in the early 2000s a game called NFL Blitz
Mm-hmm.
where it was like an extreme version of football where they took NFL players, put them in an extreme environment, and you have power-ups and all sorts of
You know what?
flashy
I
things.
remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm thinking like Josh Allen with a sword and a shield and potions, and he's got to do a quest against the powers of the each what do they call them? Each quest is a quest for a different trophy in the divisions, and I don't know, something like that. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
come up with something new. I'm not
Hey,
making anything new, it's just different.
that might be the next $1 million idea. You never know.
Could be. Could be. All right, man, great talking with you. This might be the first and only time we ever do this. It could be the first of a billion times we do it, but either
But
way,
hopefully it's not. Hopefully
I
it's not the last time.
yeah, I think we'll keep it going, even if it's just you, me, and Amazon Luna watching out there from somewhere.
The Alexas are going to be listening in.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.